The Liberal Democratic Party of Japan, frequently abbreviated to Ldp or Jimintō, is a conservative political party in Japan. It has continuously been in power since its foundation in 1955, with the exception of a brief 11-month period between 1993 and 1994, and from 2009 to 2012. In the 2012 election it regained control of government. It holds 291 seats in the lower house and 121 seats in the upper house. With the Komeito, the governing coalition has the supermajority in both houses. Just like current Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, many present and former Ldp ministers are also members of the openly revisionist organization Nippon. The Ldp is not to be confused with the now-defunct Liberal Party, which merged with the Democratic Party of Japan, now Democratic Party, the main opposition party. History. Beginnings. The Ldp was formed in 1955 as a merger between two of Japan's political parties, the Liberal Party and the Japan Democratic Party, both right-wing conservative parties, as a united front against the then popular Japan Socialist Party, now Socialist Democratic Party. The party won the following elections, and Japan's first conservative government with a majority was formed by 1955. It would hold majority government until 1993. The Ldp began with reforming Japan's international relations, ranging from entry into the United Nations, to establishing diplomatic ties with the Soviet Union. Its leaders in the 1950s also made the Ldp the main government party, and in all the elections of the 1950s, the Ldp won the majority vote, with the only other opposition coming from the left-wing politics, made up of the Japan Socialist Party and the Japanese Communist Party. For the 1950s through the 1970s, the United States Central Intelligence Agency spent millions of dollars attempting to influence elections in Japan to favor the Ldp against more leftist parties such as the Socialists and the Communists. Although this was not revealed until the mid-1990s when it was exposed by the New York Times, 1960s to 1990s. For the majority of the 1960s, the Ldp were led by Eisaku Sato, beginning with the hosting of the 1964 Summer Olympics in Tokyo, and ending in 1972 with Japanese neutrality in the Vietnam War and with the beginning of the Japanese asset price bubble. By the end of the 1970s, the Ldp went into its decline, where even though it held the reins of government, many scandals plagued the party, while the opposition gained momentum. In 1976, in the wake of the Lockheed bribery scandals, a handful of younger Ldp-Diet members broke away and established their own party, the New Liberal Club. A decade later, however, it was reabsorbed by the Ldp. By the late 1970s, the Japan Socialist Party, the Japanese Communist Party, and the Komeito along with the international community used major pressure to have Japan switch diplomatic ties from the Republic of China to the People's Republic of China. During the 1980s, the Ldp was responsible for Japan's unprecedented economic growth and the successful economy. By the early 1990s, the Ldp's nearly 4 decades in power allowed it to establish a highly stable process of policy formation. This process would not have been possible if other parties had secured parliamentary majorities. Ldp Strength was based on an enduring, although not unchallenged, coalition of big business, small business, agriculture, professional groups, and other interests. Elite bureaucrats collaborated closely with the party and interest groups in drafting and implementing policy. In a sense, the party's success was a result not of its internal strength but of its weakness. It lacked a strong, nationwide organization, a consistent ideology with which to attract voters. Its leaders were rarely decisive, charismatic, or popular, but it functioned efficiently as a locus for matching interest group money and votes with bureaucratic power and expertise. This arrangement resulted in corruption, but the party could claim credit for helping to create economic growth and a stable, middle-class Japan. Out of power, but by 1993, the end of the miracle economy and other reasons led to the Ldp losing its majority in that year's general election. 7 opposition parties, including several formed by Ldp dissidents, formed a government headed by Ldp dissident Morihiro Hosokawa of the Japan New Party. However, the Ldp was still far and away the largest party in the House of Representatives. With well over 200 seats, no other party crossed the 80-seat mark. In 1994, the Socialist Party and New Party Sakigaki left the ruling coalition, joining the Ldp in the opposition. The remaining members of the coalition tried to stay in power as a makeshift minority government, but this failed when the Ldp and the Socialists, bitter rivals for 40 years, formed a majority coalition. The new government was dominated by the Ldp, but it allowed Socialists to occupy the Prime Minister's chair until 1996, when the Ldp's Yutaro Hashimoto took over. In the 1996 election, the Ldp made some gains but was still 12 seats short of a majority. However, no other party could possibly form a government, and Hashimoto formed a solidly Ldp minority government. Through a series of floor crossings, the Ldp regained its majority within a year. The party was practically unopposed until 1998, when the opposition Democratic Party of Japan was formed. Since then, the opposition has been gaining momentum, especially in the 2003 and 2004 parliamentary elections. In the dramatically paced 2003 House of Representatives elections, the Ldp won 237 seats, while the DPJ won 177 seats. In the 2004 House of Councillors elections, in the seats up for grabs, the Ldp won 49 seats and the DPJ 50, though in all seats the Ldp still had a total of 114. Because of this electoral loss, former Secretary-General Shinzo Abe turned in his resignation, but party president Koizumi merely demoted him in rank, and he was replaced by Tsutomu Takebe. On the 10th of November 2003, the new Conservative Party was absorbed into the Ldp, a move which was largely because of the new Conservative Party's poor showing in the 2003 general election. The Ldp formed a coalition with the conservative Buddhist New Komeito. After a victory in the Japan general election 2005, the Ldp held an absolute majority in the Japanese House of Representatives and formed a coalition government with the new Komeito Party. Shinzo Abe succeeded then Prime Minister Junichiro Koizumi as the president of the party on the 20th of September 2006. The party suffered a major defeat in the election of 2007, however, and lost its majority in the upper house for the first time in its history. The Ldp remained the largest party in both houses of the Diet until the 29th of July 2007, when the Ldp lost its majority in the upper house. In a party leadership election held on the 23rd of September 2007, the Ldp elected elected Yasuo Fukuda as its president. Fukuda defeated Taro Ieyasu for the post, receiving 330 votes against 197 votes for Ieyasu. However, Fukuda resigned suddenly in September 2008, and Ieyasu became prime minister after winning the presidency of the LDP in a five-way election. In the 2009 general election, the LDP was roundly defeated, winning only 118 seats, easily the worst defeat of a sitting government in modern Japanese history, and also the first real transfer of political power in the post-war era. Accepting responsibility for this severe defeat, Ieyasu announced his resignation as LDP president on election night. Sadakazu Tanigaki was elected leader of the party on the 28th of September 2009 after a three-way race, becoming only the second LDP leader who was not simultaneously prime minister. Recent political history. The party's support continued to decline, with prime ministers changing rapidly, and in the 2009 House of Representatives elections the LDP lost its majority, winning only 118 seats, marking the only time they would be out of the majority other than a brief period in 1993. Since that time, numerous party members have left to join other parties or form new ones, including Your Party, the Sunrise Party of Japan, and the New Renaissance Party. The party had some success in the 2010 House of Councillors election, netting 13 additional seats and denying the DPJ a majority. The LDP returned to power with its ally New Komeito after winning a clear majority in the lower house general election on the 16th of December 2012 after just over 3 years in opposition. Shinzo Abe became prime minister for the second time. In July 2015, the party pushed for expanded military powers to fight in foreign conflict through Shinzo Abe and the support of Komeito party ideology. The LDP has not espoused a well-defined, unified ideology or political philosophy due to its long-term regimes. Its members hold a variety of positions that could be broadly defined as being to the right of the opposition parties. The LDP traditionally identified itself with a number of general goals: rapid export-based economic growth, close cooperation with the United States in foreign and defense policies, and several newer issues, such as administrative reform. Administrative reform encompasses several themes: simplification and streamlining of government bureaucracy, privatization of state-owned enterprises, and adoption of measures, including tax reform, in preparation for the expected strain on the economy posed by an aging society. Other priorities in the early 1990s included the promotion of a more active and positive role for Japan in the rapidly developing Asia-Pacific region, the internationalization of Japan's economy by the liberalization and promotion of domestic demand, and the promotion of scientific research. A business-inspired commitment to free enterprise was tempered by the insistence of important small business and agricultural constituencies on some form of protectionism and subsidies. The LDP opposes the legalization of same-sex marriage. Structure. At the apex of the LDP's formal organization is the president, who can serve 2 3-year terms. When the party has a parliamentary majority, the party president is the prime minister. The choice of party president is formally that of a party convention composed of Diet members and local LDP figures, but in most cases, they merely approve the joint decision of the most powerful party leaders. To make the system more democratic. Prime Minister Takeo Fukuda introduced a primary system in 1978, which opened the balloting to some 1.5 million LDP members. The process was so costly and acrimonious, however, that it was subsequently abandoned in favor of the old smoke-filled room method, so called in allusion to the notion of closed discussions held in small rooms filled with tobacco smoke. After the party president, the most important LDP officials of the Secretary General, and the chairman of the LDP Executive Council and of the Policy Affairs Research Council or PAR. The LDP is the most traditionally Japanese of the political parties because it relies on a complex network of patron-client relationships on both national and local levels. Nationally, a system of factions in both the House of Representatives and the House of Councillors ties individual Diet members to powerful party leaders. Locally, Diet members have to maintain koenkai to keep in touch with public opinion and gain votes and financial backing. The importance and pervasiveness of personal ties between Diet members and faction leaders and between citizens and Diet members gives the party a pragmatic, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours character. Its success depends less on generalized mass appeal than on the so-called Sanban, Jiban, Kaban, and Kanban factions. The LDP has three major factions: Heisei Kenkyukai supported by local farmers, the construction industry, blue-collar workers, the defense industry, Japan.Post workers, and discriminated village peoples. This faction led economic development from 1960 to 1988. They promote international cooperation with China and Korea, a gasoline tax, construction of highways, Shinkansen, and protection of small farmers, Japan.Post workers and discriminated peoples. Founded by diplomat Shigeru Yoshida. Succeeded by Eisaku Sato, Kakuei Tanaka, Yutaro Hashimoto, Shigeru Ishiba. Kuchikai supported by the established Liberal Party of the bureaucracy, white-collar workers, doctors, small merchants and small factory people. This faction led economic development from 1960 to 1988. They promote international cooperation with China and Korea, a government bond, consumption tax for national medical care and national banks which financially support small firms, as well as free trade policy. Founded by diplomat Shigeru Yoshida. Succeeded by Hayato Ikeda, Kiichi Miyazawa, Sadakazu Tanigaki, Makoto Koga. Siwa Seisaku Kenkyukai supported by Japan Business Federation, established authoritarian bureaucracy, war widows from WW2. This faction promotes decreasing taxes for high-income taxpayers, decreasing taxes for large companies, depending on the U.S. for national defense issues, visits to Yasukuni Shrine in order to garner support from nationalist voters without any special interest payments, returning the constitution to support the political system of the pre-World War II era, decreasing road, railway construction, decreasing medical care, eliminating overtime pay for white-collar workers, changing permanent employment to temporary employment, eliminating labor unions, free trade for car exports, removing protection for small farmers, privatization of Japan.Post and the layoff of Japan.Post workers. 1955 GHQ changed the policy from anti-fascist to anti-communist and released Nobusuke Kishi from Sugamo prison. Kishi founded the Japan Democratic Party. The faction was suppressed by Heisei Seisaku Kenkyukai and Kochikai from 1960 to 1990, but because of a failure of the Heisei Seisaku Kenkyukai and Kochikai leadership, it led the LDP from 2002 to 2008, mainly under Junichiro Koizumi. Founded by Nobusuke Kishi. succeeded by Takeo Fukuda, Junichiro Koizumi, Shinzo Abe, Yasuo Fukuda. Membership. The LDP had over 5 million party members in 1990, but by 2012 it had around 800,000. Performance in national elections until 1993. Election statistics show that, while the LDP had been able to secure a majority in the 12 House of Representatives elections from May 1958 to February 1990, with only 3 exceptions, its share of the popular vote had declined from a high of 57.8% in May 1958 to a low of 41.8% in December 1976. When voters expressed their disgust with the party's involvement in the Lockheed scandal, the LDP vote rose again between 1979 and 1990. Although the LDP won an unprecedented 300 seats in the July 1986 balloting, its share of the popular vote remained just under 50%. The figure was 46.2% in February 1990. Following the 3 occasions when the LDP found itself a handful of seats shy of a majority, it was obliged to form alliances with conservative independents and the breakaway New Liberal Club. In a cabinet appointment after the October 1983 balloting, a non-LDP minister, a member of the New Liberal Club, was appointed for the first time. In the 18th of July 1993 lower house elections, the LDP fell so far short of a majority that it was unable to form a government. In the upper house, the July 1989 election represented the first time that the LDP was forced into a minority position. In previous elections, it had either secured a majority on its own or recruited non-LDP conservatives to make up the difference of a few seats. The political crisis of 1988-89 was testimony to both the party's strength and its weakness. In the wake of a succession of issues, the pushing of a highly unpopular consumer tax through the Diet in late 1988, the recruit insider trading scandal, which tainted virtually all top LDP leaders and forced the resignation of Prime Minister Takeshita Noboru in April, the resignation in July of his successor, Uno Susuke, because of a sex scandal, and the poor showing in the upper house election. The media provided the Japanese with a detailed and embarrassing dissection of the political system. By March 1989, popular support for the Takeshita cabinet as expressed in public opinion polls had fallen to 9%. Uno's scandal, covered in magazine interviews of a kiss and tell geisha, aroused the fury of female voters. Uno's successor, the eloquent if obscure Kaifu Toshiki, was successful in repairing the party's battered image. By January 1990, talk of the waning of conservative power and a possible socialist government had given way to the realization that, like the Lockheed affair of the mid-1970s, the recruit scandal did not signal a significant change in who ruled Japan. The February 1990 general election gave the LDP, including affiliated independents, a comfortable, if not spectacular, majority. 275 of 512 total representatives. In October 1991, Prime Minister Kaifu Toshiki failed to attain passage of a political reform bill and was rejected by the LDP. Despite his popularity with the electorate, he was replaced as Prime Minister by Miyazawa Kichi, a longtime LDP stalwart. Defections from the LDP began in the spring of 1992, when Hosokawa Morihiro left the LDP to form the Japan New Party. Later, in the summer of 1993, when the Miyazawa government also failed to pass political reform legislation, 39 LDP members joined the opposition opposition in a no-confidence vote. In the ensuing lower house election, more than 50 LDP members formed the Shinseito and the Sakigaki parties, denying the LDP the majority needed to form a government. Presidents of the Liberal Democratic Party, with the exception of Yohei Kono and Sadakazu Tanigaki, every president of the LDP has also served as Prime Minister of Japan. Election results. General election results. Councillors election results. Bibliography. Helms, Larger, Parliamentary Opposition in Old and New Democracies. Routledge Press. ISBN 1-317970314. Henderson, Geoffrey. East Asian Transformation, on the Political Economy of Dynamism, Governance and Crisis. Taylor and Amp, Francis. ISBN 1-13684-113-X. Colner, Patrick. The Liberal Democratic Party at 50. Sources of Dominance and Changes in the Koizumi Era. Social Science Japan Journal 9 No. 2 pp 243-257. Krauss, LSS, and Robert J. Pekkanen. The Rise and Fall of Japan's Liberal Democratic Party, Journal of Asian Studies 69 No. 1 pp 5-15, focuses on the 2009 election. Krauss, LSS, and Robert J. Pekkanen eds. The Rise and Fall of Japan's LDP, Political Party Organizations as Historical Institutions 344 pages, essays by scholars. China, Ethan. Democracy Without Competition in Japan. Opposition Failure in a One-Party Dominant State.